Hello friends, my name's James, and this is my 1965 Albert 30 sloop SV Triteia. I have been slowly sailing around the world since leaving Los Angeles in 2021. Since that time, I've covered more than 17,000 nautical miles, from the Hawaiian Islands to French Polynesia, New Zealand to Australia, and more. I crossed the largest ocean on the planet solo. Join me as I continue my way through Southeast Asia, exploring its jungles, seeing its wildlife, and experiencing cultures far different from my own. This is the magic of seeing the world by sail. Good morning from North Belitung, Anchorage. Very, very peaceful night's sleep. This place is stunningly beautiful. Got here yesterday afternoon after a quiet, uneventful, thankfully, motor sail, 33 miles from that other spot we were at. As soon as I got here and dropped the hook, there was this apocalyptic looking squall approaching. I was super stoked that I got the hook down and everything before it hit. There ended up being almost no wind in it, but some good rain for sure. But man, did it look spooky coming at us. After that, I went ashore in the evening. I went cruising around in the dinghy, just have a peekaboo at everything. Went ashore, found a place to get some food, had some delicious, some of the best food, Indonesian food I've had since I've been here. Fish dish for dinner, and then I ended up having to come back in another storm in the dinghy. But after that, it was a very mellow night. I'm gonna be here probably a week, resting, taking in the scenery. There's tons to explore here. Gorgeous rock formations everywhere. Caves, they say. They're listed as caves, but then on No Foreign Land, people have said, well, it's not really what we call caves. It's like piles of rocks, but it's a very unique landscape compared to everything else I've seen in Indonesia. But there's lots to explore. It's also supposed to be really good snorkeling here, but there's also saltwater crocodiles. I'm not sure how those go hand in hand, but we're gonna roll with it, and I'm gonna show you everything there is to see here. So we're gonna go on a little adventure, check out some of the rock formations. This anchorage is surrounded by crazy granite boulders, which are wild looking. I'm absolutely loving Gary, the dinghy. Got some rain last night, so full of water. But I also realized since there's two compartments, if we get a ton of rain, I could do my washing in this side and then do the rinsing on this side. Be very handy. But he's a little tippy, but hasn't dumped me out yet. I have these fenders on the sides, which don't really help with buoyancy. It's mostly to keep from banging into the boat when she's alongside. But I think I could rig up some kind of fenders on the side that would help a little with the buoyancy. But overall, it's just you just kind of watch your balance, My first dinghy for Triteia was a Sabot, which was way more tippy than that. And that thing could actually sink, if it got full. But this is hollow inside, like a kayak, like a plastic kayak. So it's even unsinkable, even if it gets loaded up. But so far I'm really loving it. Really easy to pull up onto the beach, that's for sure. of the coolest places I've been. Definitely like the most beautiful place I've been in Indonesia. So they make these little rafts with like little handmade oars and everything to get out to these local boats on the moorings. Check it out. I photographed a ton of them the other day on the beach. They're super, super cool. I really like them. They're so different and barely put together, but they get the job done. Came in to get lunch and the sky opened up. Crazy, crazy storm. It was forecasted, but looks like it's still pretty breezy over on the side where we got to get back to Triteia. But I walked over in the worst of it to look at the boat and to look at the dinghy, and everything was chill, so went back to another restaurant. Let's go see how much water's in the dinghy. Still way too rough for me to try to get back to the boat. And the dinghy's like a bathtub. But I'm glad that the tide is up, so maybe I should try to pull it up further, huh? Alright, I got all the water out of the dinghy and got her pulled up high and dry. These dudes are out here trying to bail their little boats and trying to keep their boats from sinking. Quite a storm. So I got back on board and realized my other bow chock ripped off in this storm because I had the snubber going on one side because the other one ripped off in Lombok, broke my tow rail. Now I have broken tow rail on both sides. So I just fed it through the bow roller. I don't know what else to do. I just gotta keep an eye and make sure it doesn't chafe. It shouldn't with the bow roller because the way it's positioned, but definitely got to keep an eye on it. But I have two snubbers on, but such a bummer. Now I got to get both sides of this forward teak tow rail repaired and then do some obviously beefier chocks. So yesterday, when I got back from driving around all the cool rocks and seeing the coral and all that stuff, I came to Triteia to drop stuff off and grab some cash so I could go ashore to get lunch, which is when I got stuck ashore with the storm. But when I came back to the boat, I saw there was like diesel all around the boat. I was like, what in the world? So I got on board, opened up the engine bay, and the whole front of the engine was covered in some kind of glistening liquid. Now I don't have the best sense of smell, but I did it and I couldn't quite tell if it was diesel. I couldn't tell what it smelled like. So then I came out here and I checked the fuel tank, and the fuel tank was almost empty. And before I left the previous anchorage, I put 5 gallons in. So I had 10 gallons in the fuel tank. The 35-mile passage I did should have used about 5 gallons. So I used double the fuel I should have used on that passage. And could have run out of fuel, which would have been a real nightmare. So I started the engine, I put fuel in, I started the engine, and as soon as I started it up, I saw the diesel shooting out. From this hose. So it's the hose that goes from the secondary fuel filter to the high pressure pump, and water's just, I mean, diesel's just like streaming out of it. So I think ever since I've been to this spot that it was like siphoning off from the tank, just like making its way into the bilge, and that's why finally there was like enough rainwater that got in the bilge to like make the bilge go off, and I saw the diesel around the boat. So now what I'm going to try to do is, I mean, I'm in the middle of nowhere, so it's not like there's a Yanmar dealer here or anything, but I'm going to clean up this high pressure hose and try to do a field fix, in the wild fix on it. There's not visibly, you can't really see like a spot. It's kind of there's kind of a bulge in one spot, maybe that's where it's at, but you can't really clearly identify where it's at, and it was coming from the backside. Like I could put my finger over it and stop it. So what I'm gonna try to do is I'm gonna clean this off real good, and then I'm gonna use, I have two different fixes that I could do. The first fix, I'm gonna try to put JB Weld around the spot where I think it is, kind of slather JB Weld on it, and then one of these, probably this hose, one of these two, I have two different size hoses. I'm gonna cut a length, and then I'm gonna score it down the middle, wrap it around this, and then put a bunch of hose clamps on it to try to stop it. I think that with the JB Weld should get us to Malaysia, where I can get this replaced easily. If not, then I don't know, we'll figure it out. The other option is I have this self-agglomating tape, or I don't know if I'm probably saying that wrong, but it's the tape that sticks to itself that's like really good in emergencies. I have two different sizes of that. I have a small size that I could wrap this with really tight, and then literally like duct tape on top of that, you know, to try to create some kind of like seal. But I think this is a better option for the first, because then I'm not wasting those materials if it doesn't work, and then we'll use that as a last resort. But I think that this will do it. I think that this should take care of it. We shall see. So that's what I'm going to do right now. Try to get it cleaned up a bit and kind of remember. So it was like this, and the hole was kind of coming out from like there. So yeah, we'll see. We shall see. But that's the adventures in yachting. And I'll show you how the fix goes after I get this cleaned up. So after cleaning it up, you can definitely see, like when I was rubbing it with a rag, it caught on the spot where the hole is. It's right there. So that's good that I was able to identify the spot. And there's like, everything else is smooth except that spot, which kept catching the rag, and you can see there's like a hole there. So at least we've identified where the hole is. And it's definitely on the back side where I was pinching it yesterday. So I think first I should cut a length of the hose and get it dry fit over the section. And then I'll do the JB Weld and get that all smashed into place. And then immediately put the hose on top of it so that it kind of binds it and smushes it down into the hole. I think that's the route to go. That might make it nice and flat and smooth so that it creates a better seal with the hose. That's my theory. And this is marine fuel line, so that I know that diesel's not going to affect it. Alright, so we got it opened up. Well, that one doesn't fit around the whole thing. See? It might still work, but let's try the other one and see if it looks better. Because maybe the other one we can just trim off a little and make it fit perfect. Yep, so with hose clamps, that will meet up much better. Seems like a better choice. Gotta replenish my stock of JB Weld. That's all I got left is this little bit. This is the putty kind where you mix it up and it activates. So it's like a chemical reaction between the hardener and the, I'm not sure what the other material is. It's probably epoxy. Some kind of epoxy putty. Once you mix it up, then you got X amount of time before the chemical reaction makes it set. Alright, that should do it. Alright, here's our hole right there. So, I'm try to smash that on. Just doesn't look like it's working. Alright, and before that stuff turns too thick, we want to try to get this thing on. I'm going to trim this back so it doesn't affect the bend of it too much. It's got to bend in a specific way to get from the high pressure pump to the secondary filter. So, go ahead and do that. So, here's the fix as it stands currently. I'm going to let that JB Weld kick overnight so it can get nice and set in. And then tomorrow morning we will try to run the engine. I still have room for 2 more hose clamps if needed, but I'd like to try to this first, not use up all my hose clamps. And if it seems like we need to add more, then we add more. But my guess is that JB Weld, I got it layered on there real nice. It hadn't kicked off yet, and then I smashed it down, so it's going to smash it down into all those grooves and everything. Hopefully this like easy rider fix will work. If not, then we'll figure something else out. But that's the best I know to do for the first attempt. And tomorrow morning we'll start it and see if she's a squirter. Okay, well, we'll wait and see. Seems good. It was squirting out like crazy before my field fix, my cowboy fix. So, yeah, I guess now we just like wait until next time we're motoring. Keep an eye on it. I'll make sure that when I leave here, I leave on a day where there's wind, so that if something does that's not doing good, then I can definitely sail off into safety. But I'll let you know how it goes. If you enjoy the content on this channel and would like to contribute, you can consider joining the Patreon crew. Thanks for watching. Fair winds until next time.